All right, man. Well, let's get going. We're going to talk about ISAs. You know what's interesting? You and I are talking about events because I really want to do an event for Chime, like a virtual event, right? And now that we're on here, I just want to show you. Give me a second. I want to show you who we got so that we can kind of emulate it. Maybe we can get some people chiming in here. But you see here, this is who we got, right? And maybe we do something similar for Chime, right? Focus on a specific topic. But we got D-Rock, who's Gary Vee's video guy.
Okay.
Rory Vaden, who is sold his company for a few $1 million, Community Builders, also best-selling author. London, who's got 5 million TikTok followers, and I know you love TikTok.
I don't have a TikTok.
I'm joking. And then Brendan Kane, he's the that marketer who runs all of the celebrity social media. So Taylor Swift, Katie Couric, all those people.
Oh, cool.
And Judy Fox, like master LinkedIn person. But that's the idea behind it. And dude, maybe it'll get your juices flowing and you can tell me, how this would the look on your end. What do you think?
I would love to get a collection of maybe the Chime power users, everyone who feels like they've found a aspect of Chime that they really like or have really improved their business with, and have them do an in-depth overview of how they're best taking advantage of it. Because the reality is, and everyone here knows this already, but Chime is a robust piece of technology, and there's a lot in the system. And I know this because almost every single time someone reaches out to me, they say the exact same thing. I love Chime. I'm not using it to the best of its ability. I understand. But everyone's probably doing something a little bit different, and everyone else can learn from that. So I definitely would like to get a assortment of power users who have their own little niche, and spread the knowledge. Because the reality is, when everyone shares what's going well for them, it improves the community as a whole, right?
Yeah, so I agree with you. All right, dude. Well, let's dive deeper on that one next time. I just kind of wanted to talk about that. But
yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up.
Here's what I want to show you, and I want to start with an org chart really quick for everybody. A simplified org chart, because I know my org charts can get a little crazy. So here's what I like to say, and I say, hey, here's where we should start as a real estate. This is a simplified version. I'm going to take you crazy town in a little bit. All right.
I like it.
This is easy. So we got the real estate agent or the realtor, right? And then you have some options here. And I'm like, I want to show you what the options are, because I started through a different route when I started my team like 12 years ago. And I want to tell you which way to go in the world that we currently live in based on your strengths, because people have different strengths, right? So if you were going to start all over, or let's say, Randy, you were going to start as a real estate agent and you're like, hey, I want to build a team. I have Chime, and I'm going to use Chime primarily to build on the amount of people that are coming through our database, right? That's already telling me you're probably going to need somebody over on this end, on the lead gen side. And you're definitely going to need a TC, which you can outsource temporarily. And then you're going to need an admin, right? So I'd say
I already have a question. You said something that piques my interest. You said something you can outsource temporarily. So my question to you is, which of these roles is best outsourced, is best kept in-house, and then should the ultimate goal be to bring all of them in-house, or should certain roles remain outsourced?
Dude, it's a great question, and that's going to depend on your skills as a leader. And I'll tell you from personal experience, I crapped that whole thing up at the very beginning. Okay, a lot of times, a few times.
Yes.
And I finally got to the stage where, number one, I realized that I sucked at leading and hiring both, and it was terrible. And then when I went back and I said, okay, let's just dig in, and it's on me. Once I did that, it didn't matter where I hired from, by the way, because now if you look at our team for Tristan and Associates, that's the real estate side. You look at A Brilliant Tribe, the consulting side, or you look at Lab Coat Agents, we're spread out across the world. And I have VAs that are in the United States, in Florida, in Atlanta, Dan Murray. And I have them all over. And then I also have some in the Philippines, and then some in other countries. And then I also have local. So that question is really good, but it's really going to be more towards you. Like, Randy, how good are you at really giving people an instruction on how to do their daily tasks? And are you a great enough leader to leave them alone and mature into that role too? And so I don't know where you're at on that side. You're awesome and you wear a lot of hats. So I'd probably say you could go with a VA and be okay with it. But for most real estate agents, I say, if you're going to hire an admin, executive admin, I want you to hire in-house probably first. And that's so you can understand how they work, how you work with somebody else, right? And then you can start saying, well, I'm probably going to add a TC. And just to be able to function financially, you hire a TC and you outsource them. So you only pay them per transaction at first.
Sure.
Once you have enough transactions, then you can hire them in-house and then have them do everything having to do with that transaction. They could even be a listing coordinator along with a transaction coordinator, right?
That makes sense.
So that's how I typically would start it, with these two in-house. Now, as you're growing though, like for me, Randy, I went with a TC first, and then I went with an executive admin, and then I blew up online. So I needed a lead gen specialist, right? Who then became my ISA. And then I outsourced other ISAs. And then we went the marketing manager route and then the sales manager route.
So since that was the genesis of this weekly chime in, was the ISA piece, that has got to be one of the more difficult positions to keep staffed.
It is,
it's
man.
A grind.
You know why? And let me see if I can pop this one open. Give me a second. Before I pop that one open, it's a really hard position to fill. You know why? It takes a lot mentally. And I think if you've never worked in that world before, where you're just making calls all day, the assumption is that, well, this person should just make a ton of calls and have no breaks in between. And you overwork that ISA, not knowing, because you didn't come from that world, how it actually functions, dude. And I came from that world. My first job was Nielsen TV ratings, and I had to pick up the phone at age 14, summer job, and start calling them. I loved it so much that I started doing it every summer, selling ink cartridges, windows. And then when I got into college, that was my full-time job, dude, calling.
Love it.
And so I understood.
That's a unique background.
Dude, I came from an old world, right? Weird. But I understood how hard it was for some people, right, to just be on the phone. So the very first thing I did when I hired my ISA is I was like, hey, dude, you can take breaks anytime you want. Doesn't even matter. This is what I'm shooting for, based on the calls, based on, do you have a single dialer? Do you have a triple dialer, right? And based on my experience calling and converting, this is what I expect. But let's take a look at where you're at, and let's listen into some of the recorded calls, like through Chime. That's why I love Chime, dude. Like,
it's a great platform if you have ISAs.
Recording the calls, send them to me. Hey, send me the best calls to me. And then this is what I tell my agents: send me your worst calls when somebody kind of hung up 30 seconds in. I want to know, was it your tonality? Was it approach? Can we say something different at the very beginning? Right? Because if you keep on doing the same thing and getting hung up, there's something going on.
Yep.
So now let me show you the next part of this, because it progresses, right, as we grow. Here's one that's now getting a little deeper, right? And then you see an inside sales agent, right? So, and this right here, this little block right here, lead gen manager, lead gen specialist, and inside sales agent, you can really all have together, right? Inside sales agent can even be under the lead manager, technically. But I separated it just because. Now you can
So
see
you're saying
here,
this can be the same person, or
no, I mean, initially the lead gen person has to be the ISA or the lead coordinator. They quarterback the leads, right? They're the ones who pick up the phone as the incoming leads come through, talk to them, and then decide who they're going to go to based on personality, based on area, right? That's how my ISAs work. And then go ahead.
So I guess one of the reasons why ISA jobs are so difficult to hire for and to keep around is because there's a preconception that there's no upward mobility. It's just your job for eternity. It's going to be make 500 phone calls a day. So are you saying, yeah, I mean, that's terrible. That's, to me, that's like my own personal hell, is if there's no ability to move up and move forward and progress. So would you say, lead gen specialist and lead gen manager are the next, is the evolution of the inside sales agent?
Well, what we noticed, man, is that,
hi, Janki.
What's up, Janki?
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm so late, but
don't even worry.
I was lost.
Janki, chime in as I'm talking here. We're having a conversation, but
I'd love to.
his question is that the challenge that we find, and this is true all across the board for every company, so big company or small, the ISA is a role where a lot of people burn out of. And because number one, it's a lot of stuff that they have to do on a daily basis, and it involves just calling and calling, rejection. And there's no place to move up, right? In some cases. And so, Randy, that's why we give them the option to always say, look, there's always the option to become a real estate agent, because you're doing the hardest part. Right? The one that all agents hate.
There's a lot of truth in that.
And so that's the next move up, because people always ask, well, how much do you pay an in-house ISA versus a virtual assistant one? In-house, I pay him about $5,000 with a small bonus, $5,000 a month, right? That's about right. And they work about 8 hours a day, and they have breaks in between, obviously. And then the bonus, depending on where area you're in, I see some people do a flat fee per closing or a percentage, right? And I'm going to leave that up to people listening in, depending on your area, because Janki and I think we have a similar price point, Janki.
Yeah, we do.
And I prefer in our area to start with a flat fee, right? Because there's also other pieces involved to this, right? My ops person, my agents, and maybe 2 or 3 agents involved in one. But that's how we typically do it. And an ISA that's a VA, Randy, they range. But I mean, if you want to get a really great one and let's say it's in the Philippines, right? Let's just say that. The biggest challenge I hear is, well, they don't speak English well, or they have an accent, right? Well, that's just because you're not hiring right.
Exactly.
Why don't you go and put up an ad? You'll get 200 candidates. Be very specific. I need you to speak English perfectly, better than me, please. Right? and know your grammar well, because I suck at grammar and I spell everything wrong. If you put that up there, guess what you're going to get? The most amazing ISAs you've ever had.
Right.
And so, Janki, what do you think on that?
Well, my ISAs are VAs, right? My ISAs are not in-house. They are in the Philippines. And I have personally trained them. And you know that, Tristan, because I put the scripts together, and I actually did role play every single day with them, like from 9 to 10 in the mornings, Monday, Wednesdays, and then Thursdays or Tuesday, Thursdays, we do later on, right? So I really did a hands-on training, and I trained them. I have to tell you, they don't come all with bells and whistles. You got to take the time to train them. And I've had so many people ask that question, Tristan, what do you do with your ISAs? Because my ISA is not converting 5 to 10 appointments a week. Like my ISAs are booking 5 to 10, actually 10 to 15 appointments a week for me. And and with the 10 to
Awesome.
15, it's more like live transfers, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes, and I'm in the middle of something and I can't do a live transfer. So my director of ops takes that phone call, or my lead buyer's agent takes that phone call, because they're ready, willing, and able to buy, and it's a live
Mhm.
transfer. Why would you sit on it? Why would you
Mhm.
schedule an appointment, right?
Right.
So there are different ways that we do it. We do a live transfer, we do a phone appointment. And when you go to a doctor's office, right, T, when you go to a doctor's office, don't you get a call 30 minutes before?
Mhm.
Right? You get a call, not 30 minutes, a day, 24 hours before, right? Like, hey,
Mhm.
reminder, you've got an appointment. That's what we do. They do a follow-up. And
Nice.
yeah, and that my system is a little bit different as well. Um, and we're trying to get in-house, but that's becoming more of a challenge. So I like to train them outside and get them ready, and
Mhm.
then off they go, and just don't touch my ISAs is what I tell everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to offer a perspective real quick, because you said, the sad reality is your ISAs don't come neatly packed and ready to roll, and you can just put them on the phones and they start setting 10 to 15 appointments a week. It doesn't work that way. You put in time and effort and training, which scares most people off, right? Most people say, no, I don't want to put in the time, training, and effort. But I challenge those of you who are thinking, no, I don't want to put that effort in to train ISAs. Think about it this way. What you're saying no to is actually no to more appointments, no to more clients, no to more deals. You're not saying no to just training. You're saying no to growth in your business.
Exactly.
And it may feel like you're taking a step back because you're spending time in your day training someone instead of going on appointments, but you're investing that time. You're not taking a time back. You're investing that time to reap future rewards. And that thought process gets lost on so many people. They just stop at, no, I don't want to do the training, without necessarily weighing out the benefits of what that training can produce.
To be honest, right now, I don't even look at the appointments. It's been, I'm working on the business. And that's why for me, I'm always, texting Tristan saying, all right, what's next? What's next? What's next? Because he is my mentor as well. He is my sort of, guidance to help me with everything that I've become so far. Thank you, T.
Thanks for listening. You did all the hard work.
But the whole thing was, I took his advice and I said, okay, what's next? And so I'm always in learning mode. And if you're not learning mode, if you're not like training mode, training your team and always being on top of the training aspect of it, you're going to fail fast. And I failed so many times, 17 years in this business. I'm not going to lie. I failed, but I failed forward.
Sure.
I took leaps and bounds from Tristan to learn. I took my own coach, and that's like, you have to train them. You have, your ISAs are your frontliners, so to speak, right? Because they're the ones who are going to call the leads. They're the first people that are going to set you apart. Someone might say, why should we hire the Janki Patel team? You should have an answer immediately what to say.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's phenomenal. You said 17 years in the business and you're still learning and you're still training. It's those people who are 17 years in the business and say, oh, I've seen it all, I've done it all, I've learned it all. Those are the people who are going to be left behind as this industry continues to grow and evolve, because I'm sure y'all have both experienced it. In recent years, it seems to be growing and evolving faster than it ever did. So it's only picking up momentum. And if you're refusing to learn or change your habits, you're probably going to struggle in the future.
Yeah, very true. What do you think the biggest challenge is when it comes to, Janki, for hiring an ISA? What do you think the first challenge is for most agents?
Not being able to understand what kind of questions to ask when you're interviewing. I think that's the biggest challenge. It's like, okay, what do I ask an ISA? Well, try to do a role play with them. Put them on the spot immediately. That's what I did with my director of ops, and that's exactly what I did with my ISA. I put them on the spot and I said, all right, 123 Main Street. I'm calling about it. Tell me more. What can you tell me? And I ask permission. I say, hey, are you open? Because sometimes they might be nervous, right? Rightfully so. And so I kind of I put my guards down and I say, hey, we're family here. Come on, let's do this. I would love to see where, if you are the person that I'm looking to hire, where your challenges might be, where are your weaknesses? What can I help you with, right? And I think that is going to be my first defense, to know. And then when I ask them that question and how they respond back, that'll tell me right away where I possibly might need to train them.
All right, you know what? I'm going to start with the beginning on the hiring process. We've only got about 4 minutes, but this is important. When you're looking to hire and you're interviewing people like on your list, one of the key things to do is to have them either role play, right? Or depending on the experience they have, they said, hey, I've called real estate consumer, the client, before, then I just have them jump on and be like, great, give me a sample of this and call some of my leads and let me hear in, or, call me a few times. I want to hear this out and I'll role play it with you.
Yeah.
I think you'll have a better idea of how they handle objections. And if they don't have any experience with the real estate side, ask them what experience they have with. If it's a lot of these people in the Philippines have worked for Chase, have worked for Kohl's or Target and then call centers, find a scenario that they're great at and engage with them on there and listen to how they solve the challenges. That's been key for us, because now I'm listening into the conversation. So
are they generally pretty receptive to that?
Oh, dude, very. They have no objection to. They're like, yeah, we'll jump in right now, which is really cool to do. And now I have everybody that I hire, I have them do a video too. I want them to send me a video of what they've done, or just saying hi. I want to know what they love doing on the side as a hobby.
Right.
And I just want more engagement, because I feel like the less you micromanage the people that work for you, the more you empower them to become a better version of that role that you hired them for.
Exactly.
And it's the opposite.
Right. But don't forget, when you are letting go of that, make sure that you've trained them before you stop micromanaging them. I'm not saying I don't micromanage them, but what I do is I will call a meeting right away and I'll say, all right, guys, I'll just surprise them. I'll say, okay, talk to me. Let's do a Zoom call real quickly. And they're like, what? Okay, she's up to some kind of test with us. And then my director of ops will say, put your best foot forward. She's out there again. And I will put them on the spot and say, okay, I want to sell my house. Give me a home evaluation. You should know the areas that you are serving in. You should study the market. So I send them videos of the current market situation, from our associations and all that good stuff. So I keep them up to par, because they are my frontliners, like I said.
That's true. Good job on that. I like that. That's like good quality control.
It's a great point, right? You don't want to micromanage them, and you want them to take the role and run with it and let it evolve, like Tristan said, but you have to invest in them first, like Janki said, right? You don't hire one and you're like, all right, I hired you and you maybe have done this before, go. It's like, no. Let me invest in you so you're doing it the right way, and then you can mature it.
Because I don't want to hear complaints from a consumer saying, oh, you keep calling me, I'm not interested. Yet they're going on your website looking for properties, right? So how do you manage, how do you tackle that situation? So you want to be the best version of yourself, because they're representing you. They're representing the Janki Patel team. So they have to do it the right way.
And the other thing is, there are different places to hire. If you want to hire locally, or even not locally, but you want to hire in the United States, right? You go to Indeed, like we're making a hire right now. We had 230 applicants in 2 days, and I had to shut it off.
Wow.
Because there's no way I can keep up. So
that's wild.
It is wild, man. And I'm like, now I have to have other qualifications in there besides the ones I thought I had enough of filtering. But Indeed is one place. And then there are other places you can go for hiring an actual virtual assistant in another country like the Philippines. So there are options there too. You can go to VirtuDesk, which I promote all the time, or you can go direct, right? In some cases, if you have the experience, you can go direct too.
That's interesting.
And it's just with direct, you need to understand that whole world first. I wouldn't want you to start there, but it could be a place where you could end up later on. Janki, what about you? What do you think?
Same thing. I have my ISAs, my VAs, again, from VirtuDesk. I really like them. The only thing is I train them my way. I think I can't reiterate that enough. Don't expect them to come with all bells and whistles the way you want it. A lot of times I've heard that they've let go of their ISA because they are not converting appointments. And how are you getting 10, 15 appointments a week? That's because, again, I've spent time with them. So that's one thing I will highlight. We've got leads, coming from all over, obviously with Chime and all the other sources that we have. And and now that we have a director of ops in position, she not micromanage, but she actually makes sure she has the weekly departmental meetings to make sure that everyone is producing.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Janki, any other things you have to say here in closing? I mean, who are you hiring next? Are you hiring another ISA? What are you hiring?
ISA, yes, we just hired another executive assistant, and now we're hiring ISA.
Oh.
So it's going to be our third ISA.
I love that. Third.
Third.
There you go. All right. Randy, any other questions, buddy?
No, this has been great. I think this, I hope people use this as an opportunity to reflect on what they want out of their business and what it takes to get there.
Yeah. I think it creates a lot of clarity once you see it this way.
Yeah. And as a one person, as a team leader, you can't do everything. You got to work on your business. That's one thing I learned very early from Justin. You can't always you have to work on your business instead of in your business. And in your business is what your staff does. And, going back to training and really making sure your ISIS are doing a good job for you. Main thing is, I, again, wrote out a course for this and I'm working on it slowly, to kind of do a step-by-step process on it.
I love it. All right, guys, if you have any questions, reach out to Janki, reach out to me, reach out to Randy. Ron, thank you. Appreciate that. Very kind.
Absolutely.
And you can find the replay here on YouTube on the Chime channel or inside of the community as well. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks. I'll take it easy.
Thanks.